Hey guys, and welcome to another mini episode of Roll for Crit. We are here at Gen Con all week long. We brought you a couple of videos yesterday, and today we have a bunch more. First off, we're going to be talking about a big new announcement that just came out today from Upper Deck. It is the Versus LCG system.
That's right. The copyrighted term, apparently, they're using it.
Yes, so we'll get into that a little bit. But for a little history, Versus was a trading card game a while back, and actually very similar to Doomtown, which we talked about yesterday. They're now reviving it as this LCG format. In this case, the game revolves all around Marvel characters. If you don't know, Upper Deck also does the legendary games that we enjoy so much, featuring Marvel characters.
Yeah, they announced it midday, and if you're lucky enough, you got one of these cases. I don't think this is official. I think this is specifically just for Gen Con.
Yes.
It came with 3 decks, if I'm correct, 3 decks, as well as these shirts, which we are both wearing.
And so the way it works is there are different, I don't want to use the word faction, but that's what I'm going to say. They might be called factions, I don't know. But in the base set, at least in this one, are X-Men, Brotherhood, and Sentinels. And these are, I believe, basically reprints of the original cards. There are no major changes to them, and they actually come with some extra cards so that you can shuffle and make your own constructed decks. Of course, this is, like we said, a Gen Con preview version, so there's no word, as far as I know, as to when this is going to be available to public. And the box that they gave us is very bare bones.
Yeah, you can obviously tell, besides the cover here.
This is what's inside.
Yeah, this is like, you get a simple box.
Yeah. Which I think is because they just wanted to get this out for people at Gen Con. It's a special limited release type thing.
I mean, it's still pretty amazing and cool.
Yeah, no, it's very cool. I mean, I was very excited that I was right there when they announced it, and I was like, I will buy that right now. Thank you. But we did not play the original trading card game, but we sort of, we've looked at some of the cards. What do you think about just the cards in general and how the game kind of seems to play as far as we've seen it? Brief impressions.
Well, I think it's pretty interesting, and I think it's also interesting coming out, first of all, the living card game. That seems becoming more and more popular outside of Fantasy Flight, which I really like and seeing it take hold. It's also interesting because, as we mentioned yesterday with Marvel Dice Masters, another Marvel sort of card game coming out. And especially after Dice Masters is hard to find, this might actually scare them and maybe force them to try to maybe make more or something.
That's true. I guess one thing they do have is that this was a pretty popular game, and people have been wanting them to bring it back in some form. But yeah, that is now technically 3 Marvel-based card games out on the market. One thing that is true is that they also might mix other properties into this.
Actually, that was one thing I was discussing with someone online when I got my copy about was before the Verse system. If you did play, there was a DC. They had the DC right, and you could mix them. And now we know Cryptozoic has the DC deck building game. Upper Deck has the Marvel Legendary deck building game.
I don't know if there's necessarily an exclusive for either of those.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know whether the companies are going to fight over it because of that.
Well, because we know WizKids is getting DC for Dice Masters,
Right.
so it could happen.
Yeah.
And I think it makes sense because Versus is such a generic name, and because Versus, you want to see like all your favorite properties versing each other.
Well, and another big thing, like we said earlier, copyright speaking of, is living card game. As we mentioned in our Doomtown, living card game is copyrighted by Fantasy Flight, which is why they're using the ECG, which is an expandable card game. So they did say that. It's printed on the box, so it's...
I wonder if it's only because this is just the Gen Con version. It's not retail. They just wanted people who are gamers at the convention to understand what's going on. But it is interesting, especially because they're like right next to Fantasy Flight's booth.
That was pretty funny. That it was almost as if you could just stare down each other right across the booth. They're like, "We're using your words."
But in a way, it's also kind of refreshing just to see them not have to come up with, "Oh, it's a making Morier card game."
Well, I mean, to be fair, look at the language. they don't tap, they exhaust. Or
Yeah, that's true. So they'll deal with Fantasy Flight, but Wizards of the Coast, they're not going to mess with that. But I really like the look. The look of the cards is very kind of old school, kind of classic looking. Much like compared to Marvel, much more kind of almost formal. Like the well, I can show you the cards. They have pretty varied art. I'll put one up to the camera for you.
as you can see, they're pretty similar. At least I know the front is to the.
Yeah, but the system seems like fun, and we didn't get a chance to play very much into it. But I definitely look forward to trying more, and it's just cool to have.
And hopefully we'll hear more in the upcoming days.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? There's so much we have to find out about when they're going to release more packs. Who knows? We don't know.
Well, sets. Remember, this is living.
It could still call it a pack. It's a
True.
synonym.
Sorry. When I think pack, I think the random.
Apology
pack.
accepted. So that is the Versus system. Unfortunately, you cannot get it, but if you have any questions about it or anything, definitely let us know, and maybe we'll play a few more games and give you more thoughts on it if you're interested. You can comment on this video. You can, of course, email us, rollforcrit@gmail.com. Our Twitter account is @rollforcrit. I think that about covers it.
Yeah. We'll hopefully report more verse news. So.
Absolutely. And you can like us on Facebook, too, if you want to, but I don't think you really want to. Maybe.
I think you do.
It's facebook.com/rollforcrit. And, of course, check out our site, rollforcrit.com, where we have tons of Gen Con updates and lots more mini videos just like this that will be out right now and will be coming out more tomorrow. So stay tuned.